In this particularly balmy world, where things are most certain in some ways, can Guldo find a friend? Hey folks, MasakoX here. 2020 has been a bit of a damp squib in terms of what to expect, but one thing that hasn't failed to disappoint is the tradition on this channel for an April Fool What If. Usually we like to experiment with ideas here on the MasakoX channel, but for these particular batch of scenarios, we can really get quite out there and explore some of the more outlandish stories that you, the audience, wish to see me cover, or have been maybe pondering about yourself in general since time immemorial. Today, we are going to be tackling the notion that the second tier of Freeza Force members, first tier being Freeza himself of course, had been able to see the light and find some way to be able to assist the Dragon team going from their boss's saga onwards. What if the Ginyu Force turned their skills and talents from just merely being underlings to Lord Freeza and instead turn good and become their own team with nobody to choose their destiny but themselves? So this story came about during our What If Roundtable live streams, and a lot of you really wanted to see this become a reality, and so we decided to save this for an April Fool What If situation. Why is that? Well, with this little caveat, we can be a little bit more loose with the Dragon Ball world, because the Ginyu Force turning good would be very unlikely, and if Freeza got wind that we were trying to become good, he would have offed them on the spot. But here, we can maybe skirt around that. Havrock and I really looked forward to this because it allows us to show more banter between the 4 lieutenants of Captain Ginyu, and then said captain coming to terms with their new lives, as well as the fandom from Frieza's tyranny or justice if they didn't do well. Goku is a far more flexible and benevolent leader here than Freeza. In the last part, we had seen the Ginyu Force go from strength to strength, not just get stronger in general, yeah, but they improve as a team even further and be able to help out the Dragon team more than ever. In fact, they were so effective that Burter was able to hold his own, on his own somewhat, against 17 and 18, so that the other members of the Earth posse could come and carry on for him. It was a very valiant job indeed for the fastest in the universe. Thanks to the Force being much more aware of their duties to keep an eye on things around this saga, a lot fewer people on Amembo Island lost their lives thanks to the cruel tactics of Dr. Gero and Android 19. Better yet, Yamcha was okay! Everybody wants to see Yamcha turn out okay, right? Super Saiyan Vegeta is still after Captain Ginyu, and is very keen to eviscerate him and his crew, regardless of whatever they've done to try and help Goku and friends. However, thanks to the Force being here, Cell has actually become beefed up with extra powers such as Burter's speedy potential, as well as additional androids being unleashed on our crew to make things even more interesting and difficult. As the quintet is doing their best, semi-perfect Cell is ready to claim his perfection and absorb Android 18, but the ones currently standing between him and his lackeys are the Ginyu Force. The situation looks bleak, and Jeice, as per usual, is the first one to feel the pressure in particular. He turns to his leader with a very nervous look in his eye. "Captain, what's our strategy here?" asks Jeice. Ginyu looks back to his red short sidekick and is wondering that himself. There is one fact that they do know. They know that they are not capable of straight up winning over these mechanical maladies with sheer brute strength. They are fully aware also that they are stalling for the prince. They are giving that duo some of that sweet, sweet time chamber quality father-son time. Ginyu, even though he was not a big fan of Vegeta at all, could at least appreciate the potential bonding that could be going on between father and son, him getting to spend some months with Trunks, and maybe perhaps discover a whole new lease of life. And most importantly, maybe make him more agreeable to be around, because quite frankly, it would start to get quite irksome if the prince is going to be breathing down the Ginyu Force's necks all the time for the rest of their lives, despite them doing nothing wrong on this planet. "Give those synthetic ruffians a taste of your purple comet attack, boys! Let's show them how we do things around here." Thusly, and with much renewed vigour, Jeice and Burter charge up towards androids 14 and 15, hoping that they will cause some actual damage. but neither of these two droids seem to be all that worried, but they are willing to let them have a go, assuming that this resistance will be minimal, and maybe perhaps even a little bit entertaining for them, if androids can find anything entertaining. As that's going on, the Alpha droid himself is getting quite nettled. Cell is beginning to get pretty annoyed by the Ginyu Force and their interference, and as such tries to leave his new allies to deal with the Force.
I've had enough of these feeble excuses for fighters. You lot can handle them on your own. I have more important things to attend to.
It was settled. They can deal with these morons. Before he can get any meaningful distance away from the battle scene, Cell is halted by something. And no, it's not Ten Shinhan. Unfortunately for him, Recoome and Ginyu anticipated Cell's slinking away from the battlefield, and therefore stand together blocking his way.
Excuse me, gentlemen. You are in my way. Move aside, or else I'll have no trouble blasting a hole right through the middle of your sorry hides.
Cell motions a hand forward to reinforce this threat. Neither Ginyu or Recoome are fazed.
Stop right there, you egregious ne'er-do-well! You're not going anywhere. You're going to have to go through us if you so much as hope to continue your mindless pursuit. Recoome advises you to listen well, monster. Oh, with pleasure.
Cell let out a roar and begins his tussle with both of the larger Ginyu Force members. As you could probably imagine, Cell is easily dealing with both of them, not feeling the slightest bit nervous for their constant barrages. Their tenacity is, though, through the roof right now. Guldo is trying to take 13's attention away from the fight, but risks being toasted by the trucker hat wearing android. And despite Guldo's power increasing in the 3-year time skip like everyone else's did, he was still woefully outclassed in terms of raw output to even the regular 13. All he can do right now is to try and outsmart him, and then get some strikes in using his trusty time freeze. As the monstrosity was able to slam Ginyu into the ground, the captain isn't all that worried. He then attempts his body swap change now technique, but to his shock, Cell sends out his own blast that shatters his attempt. The body change had failed, and now Ginyu was left wide open to Cell's thrusting shaft of energy. Stop it. Soon enough, even the best of what the Ginyu Force could offer to our heroes was not enough to do lasting damage to our foes. All the members of the Force are lying on the ground, either struggling to breathe or injured considerably, unable to get up, left at the mercy of Cell and his mechanical minions. There was nothing they could do right now. Ginyu turned to his men very slowly and assumed that this was the end.
If this is it, men, know that I am proud of every single one of you. You made your captain very happy in life, and now in death.
He closes his eyes and prepares for the final curtain. As he is doing these theatrics, 13 adjusts his hat and steps forward towards the quintet.
Say, Chief, is it the right time to finish off these colorful clowns once and for all? I'd especially love to crush that tiny green one. Between you and me, he's kind of a jerk.
I'm working on it. Jeez,
muttered Guldo, spitting some stuff that you would not see in the Dragon Ball Super anime. Well, okay, maybe once or twice for a few frames, and oh, I miss the days of Z. Cell gazes down at his victims, but then decides to show some sort of mercy towards them.
They are but a tiny nuisance, I'll give them that, but I do not wish for them to bite the dust right now. I want them to witness what's to come. It'll be such fun. Such fun. Now make yourself useful, 13, and help find me our sister.
13 gulps and nods before turning away from his potential prize. Much to the disappointment of the other androids, they do not get to end the fivesome today. They literally leave the Ginyu Force to rot, without even making sure that they could escape or call for help. It's very bold assumptions, droidy boys. Throughout all of this, our main Saiyan had been watching. He had been waiting for this cocking attitude to rise up to the fore. Goku seizes the opportunity and instant transmissions the injured Ginyu Force out of the scene one by one to the lookout, where they are being treated by a small Namekian that they don't recognize. Ginyu is the first to be revived and awakes to see the young Namekian. Confused but relieved, he thanks the young boy, to which the boy says nothing. He's still a little sore for what their old boss had done to their original home. After the ice is broken, they learn about Dende's recruitment as the new Guardian of Earth. But morale seems to be pretty low, all things considered. Our alien warriors felt that they had done nothing truly helpful to aid the main team. All they can do right now is to blame themselves for not being able to stop Cell for long enough.
We tried to stall for them as long as possible, really we did, bemoaned Ginyu. But he was too powerful. To think that some of us is locked within that monstrous, sickening body. It disgusts me to the core.
He shivers on the spot and looks the most bleak of them all, the rest of the group mutter in assent, agreeing that efforts seemed pointless. Goku cheers them up though, as he thinks that Vegeta and Trunks have gotten the time they need to stop Cell. The Ginyus were successful after all. These two will be able to deal with Cell and his crooks once they are done in the time chamber. Meanwhile, Bulma hatches up upon the whole detonator plan thanks to the intel that she'd been able to acquire and tasks Krillin with finding the androids. If they can destroy 18, Cell won't be able to become perfect, which means, well, Vegeta and Trunks will have an advantage against him. As the Dragon team's plan is coming together, 16 and 18 are playing hide and seek with their siblings, which as you can imagine is not an easy task when you now have 3 extra droids looking for you. They do still manage to hide, but because these bots aren't exactly the sharpest nails in the crayon box. For hours and hours, all they can do was cower in wait, but the monsters are wreaking even bigger havoc while 16 and 18 are huddled together. Krillin does manage to catch up with them though, but yeah, you guys know what happens next. Of course our good old Krill Dog would not be able to bring it upon himself to destroy 18, and then destroys the remote himself. 18 looking completely blown over by this, and 16 quite flabbergasted. Did the tiny duck just doom them all? And this is a sentiment that the Ginyu Forces surprisingly defend Krillin for. They find it surprisingly noble. Except maybe Guldo, because he's you guys know exactly what he is. So, with the odds against them still, they give one last desperate attempt to separate Cell from his prize, but round 2 isn't looking any better than round 1. And as they are about to be decimated, again, someone comes to the rescue. It's Vegeta and Trunks! Ginyu is relieved to see them, but internally is sickened at the thought of being glad to see Vegeta of all people. But for now, he will stomach this, as without them here, they would have been goners for sure. He doubted Cell would let them go a second time. The younger Saiyan beheads 14 with ease and Super Saiyan, which is a pretty big shock for both 13 and Cell. He was sliced cleanly like butter. Or should I say, Burter? Vegeta on the other hand deals with 15, with just as much ease as his son, which causes 13 to pick up the scraps and transform into the unstoppable, blue, and completely taciturn behemoth that is Super Android 13. But the prince sends the blue android packing into a new dimension of pain, his Super Vegeta power being more than enough to deal with this beast, who is blue. Watching from his lab, Dr. Gero is absolutely in disbelief. How did they gain such an enormous boost? He curses his creations at not being good enough. All of the plan was falling apart, thanks to the Dragon team getting the jump on his intellect. It was an insult beyond belief to him. He has to work on these upgrades faster. At the end of the day, 13 gets blasted by both father and son, leaving Cell speechless. But then again, the Saiyan within him is quite excited by the showcase of power.
Perhaps things might be a little more fun than I expected. Now if only my sister were here, it would be even better.
Now, the next part goes as you might expect. Vegeta gives Cell a pounding, and he is about to finish him off, and Cell bargains with him for a chance to show him his true power. Ginyu and Trunks try to stop him, but Vegeta intervenes. Ginyu has had enough. He gives Vegeta a piece of his mind and punches him in the face, which catches the prince by surprise.
You utter fool! How could you be so
Ginyu is slammed into the ground by a casual slap to the face by Super Vegeta.
Never do that again, or else it will be the last thing you do, Ginyu.
Trunks is too scared to reply. In the midst of all this chaos, Cell stops time and consumes 18 with no resistance. The only person who can see this happen in real time is Guldo, but he can't stop him really. All he can do is watch, helplessly. Perfect Cell is a thing now. First thing he does is break Vegeta's body and spirit, something he had longed to do ever since Vegeta had arrived on the scene. It felt good. Next, he toys with Trunks in the typical fashion, giving him false hope, and then comes up with the idea of the Cell games. Something that Gero, who is lurking in his lab, isn't that fond about. His experiment had started to get a little too independent for his liking. If only there was something he could actually do to put him back in line. Forget this frivolous game. But it does offer one kernel of hope though. It gives Gero some time to figure stuff out. As such, our heroes are given a pretty tight schedule to adhere to. The Ginyu Force return to the lookout. They want to be next after Goku and Gohan in the chamber, but Mr. Popo has reminded them that they can only go in there in pairs. Ginyu and Recoome, Jeice and Burter, and Guldo, and oh. Hey Guldo buddy, I can train with ya! Krillin offers himself, seeing as his time-stopping buddy is getting seriously upset about being on his own. You will? Well, thanks, Krillin. You don't think I'm a jerk, though? I can tell that you're working on it. This comes out as a surprise, but a pleasant one. So after the golden-haired Goku and Gohan leave the chamber, they are surprised to see a rather large queue for the chamber that is eager to try it out. Well, the captain and the most bulky member of the force are first to go. They have 10 long days of training in front of them, which, for some, can be counted in years. The goal is clear, to defeat the bio-android menace. Cell himself is also quite sure of his victory, not being aware that his own creator might be plotting something himself that can change the fate of the tournament. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? Will these games change beyond recognition from what we're used to? Will Ginyu and his crew benefit from time in the spiritual domain? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!